I should probably preface this review by saying, well guys, the time has arrived. The Mario Galaxy movie is out in theaters, and seeing as I streamed most of my playthrough of the games it's based on, which sparked a bunch of memes in my community. Spanish. Yeah, Swamp, I told you you were gonna get it. It'd be a little outlandish if I didn't go out of my way to talk about a film based on what is my favorite platformer of all time. So, I hightailed it to the theater last Friday, and here we are. If you've been on the internet for more than 5 minutes, you'd know that for one reason or another, expectations were not that high for this film in terms of overall quality, especially thanks to its predecessor. But there's one thing that led many to believe that this film would be different from the first. And really, it's just the fact that the Galaxy games already had such fascinating lore and story. From its cinematography, the atmosphere, definitely the soundtrack. The Lumas, who I still stand by the fact that they look cuter without mouths. And of course, the Lady of the Hour. More like the Lady of 10 minutes, but we'll get to that later. In some ways, I was pleased, but in others, I definitely see many missed opportunities. Even with so much of its potential laid out for it, I gotta remind myself that this is coming from the same guys that gave us the Minions. Expectations can never be high. So, let's take a gander, shall we? And yeah, I get it. It's a Mario movie, kids film, it's not that deep, bro, yada yada yada. Even then, I honestly wanted to believe things could be just a tiny bit more nuanced than before. Even between characters where this didn't need to apply much. And especially early in the film, they show an understanding of character progression with interactions. Mario, Luigi, and Yoshi have adorable chemistry, but the one thing that I'd say deserves a little more credit was the bond between Mario and Peach. A bit ironic given what we know. Her iconic parasol is contextualized as a birthday gift from him. He's crushing on her, he doesn't believe he's good enough, which in this universe it checks out. But she still shows she cares about him, and she's happy when they spend time together. Their relationship is definitely sparked more and more into a romantic one, but it doesn't really go anywhere beyond a few charming moments. Speaking of Peach though, originally, her bravado felt a little contradictory to most of her interpretations. But I guess maybe that's why we had so many Mario Bros. 2 characters in the marketing, maybe to emphasize that she's been capable on her own for a long time, by reminding us of a time where she really was. Even if that was canonically a dream, but at that point we'd just be splitting hairs. However, she's still definitely lacking that cutesy bubbliness that Peach is known for nowadays. And yeah, she's still written off as a run-of-the-mill action lady. Luckily, it's not too much of an issue this time like it is in the first movie. Speaking of improvements from the first though, I counted only one instance of tacked-on licensed music. And it's honestly not as bad as anything from before. It's just a montage of Yoshi touring through Brooklyn, and I thought it was adorable. Heck, everything Yoshi does in this film is adorable. Which is something I did not expect out of the actor with this in his resume.
They said market price. What market are you shopping at?
Even with its problems, the film still has plenty of boons going for it. Not necessarily just hype moments and aura, as some might think. The animation is gorgeous, and it definitely takes advantage of the whole aesthetic of its source material. The Easter eggs don't feel phoned in, well, most of them. The action was entertaining, the sound design was spot on, even if some sounds are ripped straight from the games. But I think that just adds a bit of style if it's not just nostalgia pandering. And every actor gave a solid performance, except maybe Luis Guzman. If you thought Cranky Kong was badly cast last time, then history is repeating itself, but not for long. And I know it's gonna sound crazy, but I think the guy that basically only says one word gave the best performance. Seriously, I don't know why Donald Glover lobbied so hard for the part, but at least he knew what he was doing in the recording booth. I know it sounds like I'm glazing the film, but don't worry. We have a lot of issues to balance out the good stuff, unfortunately. We start with basically everything you saw in the promos. Rosalina fighting Megaleg, piloted by Bowser Jr., she gets captured, the bros meet Yoshi, it turns out to be Peach's birthday, and then Illuma shows up and asks for help in saving her mama. I know it sounds like I'm being too cursory, but it does reflect the film's terrible pacing. Honestly, I had a feeling it was going to be janky when I heard the leitmotif. You know, the whole da 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 da. As expected, that was in the title card, but it just felt so rushed. Everything just happens so fast to where most emotions and appreciation don't pull through. Especially with Bowser and Jr. Bowser has a whole arc where he's actually getting along with the Mario Bros amidst his imprisonment, to where he doesn't even betray them when the mini mushroom finally wears off. In fact, he actually agrees to be a prisoner again so Mario and friends can carry on with the mission. He shows he's conflicted about fighting Mario and Luigi at first, even after reuniting with Junior. But then, the only reason he goes back to being an enemy is because I'm honestly not sure. My best guess is that his love for his son kept growing as he saw more and more of Junior's passion and success, but it's not really conveyed thoroughly. And I guess the son being a bad influence rather than the other way around is nice subversion. But it's definitely quite flimsy, because by the time of the climax, his sentimentality for the bros is just gone altogether. And then we got more problems with character balancing and the world building. The gang needs a pilot to reach Junior's lair, and well, imagine how crazy anyone's reaction to who this pilot is would have been if the marketing didn't spoil it 1 week beforehand. I don't mean to undermine whatever passion Glenn Powell might really have for the character, but this just reeks of typical Hollywood egotism, and it wouldn't bother me if it just didn't compromise the fun of the plot. At least Yoshi was teased at the end of the last film. Here, this just undermines the excitement. Though I do gotta say, this character was a lot of fun. Aside from a few typical silly moments you'd expect out of Illumination, this is a great portrayal of Fox McCloud, especially near the end of the movie. But I stand by the fact that this character had no good reason to be in the film's marketing. Speaking of cameos though, there's a couple other Nintendo/Mario character appearances that also definitely put a smile on my face. There's one in the climax who, I will say, definitely had a missed opportunity. Also, thank you internet for informing me that there are 2 post-credit scenes, because I'm literally the only person in my theater who stayed for both of them. But to be honest, given how they treated Rosalina, I'm worried how they'll do the character they tease at the end. Ironically though, whatever criticisms I might have for Powell, I could say the opposite for Brie Larson. Seriously, it's kind of jarring how likable she is when she drops the whole activism shtick. And to top it off, her performance was solid. Or at least what little we got, since, well, the most significant character of Super Mario Galaxy, other than Mario himself, gets only about 10 minutes of screen time.
What?
Yep, we live in a timeline where Fox McFrickin' Cloud has more screen time in a Mario Galaxy adaptation than Rosalina. Oh, also, there's a painfully obvious twist about her origins in this version that basically retcons the storybook from the games.
What?
And well, let's just say that MatPat would have had a field day with it. But that's just a theory. What? I'm not against these movies taking certain creative liberties in the lore, since it's ultimately a different interpretation, but was there really not a better workaround? Honestly, after 19 years of pre-established lore, this is honestly extremely jarring to where it felt pretty dumb.
It's so dumb.
It's so dumb, it's brilliant.
No! It's just dumb.
And it's not really fleshed out well enough to compensate. I would say the idea would grow on me in good time, but they straight up retconned what's probably the best emotional aspect from the games. While we're discussing lore though, this movie's is completely cluttered. Mario does spin attacks, heck, we even hear the sound effect from the games, but without the source of said power. Even though it is in fact in the frickin' movie.
Hi.
A super scope that turns them into babies, resulting in a pointless Yoshi's Island-esque sequence. We got the T-Rex from Odyssey, a crime ring of Mario 2 villains, power-ups from NSMB, Junior's Wonder Form. I'm sorry, is this a Galaxy movie or just a hodgepodge of a bunch of Mario installments? This legitimately feels like it's just Super Mario Movie 2 with a Galaxy label slapped onto it. The elements of the game in the title play little to no significance in most of the movie. Almost to where it just feels like some cluttered Mario fanfiction. Why did we go in this direction at all when, as far as this franchise is concerned, you probably had the best basis to work off of? Well, if you don't count the RPGs.
The GOAT!
Is it so much to ask for some semblance of exceptional storytelling for a change? Honestly, if we were meant to have anything resembling an above-average animated story set in the Mario universe, Illumination is the last studio I would trust with this task. But it is what it is. At least we got references and gratuitous cameos, which in most circumstances is not a bad thing. I really wanted to enjoy this film for more than just that, but some of this stuff just had no business being in a film with this title in particular. Seriously, when this film wants to be hype, it's definitely hype. But is that really good enough in the grand scheme of things? Am I crazy for wanting to see, say, the Luma's kamikaze to stop a black hole to save the universe in the climax of an Illumination movie? When I say it out loud, I kinda am. The film just ends with the bad guys being stopped, Rosalina is safe, Peach's castle is rebuilt, happy ending, yada yada yada. Yeah, a lot of this dialogue and the writing has issues under the guise of being climactic or just trying too hard to be funny, which sometimes it isn't. Because I guess you can only do so much when Miyamoto himself insists on being simplistic in terms of narrative, and that's definitely backfired in the past. If nothing else though, at least the kids at my local theater seemed happy. But as C.S. Lewis once said, a children's story which is enjoyed only by children is a bad children's story. There was fun to be had, but there could have been a lot more. The Mario Galaxy movie struggles with having its own unique identity. It hinges too much on entertaining rather than letting us appreciate its iconic characters, even more than what we already do. Especially one in particular. Seriously, 10 minutes? And all in all, the film is a relatively enjoyable, but ultimately missed opportunity.